and the House of Lords are meeting to vote on amendments that are going through on the highly controversial Police Crime Sentencing in Courts Bill 2021. It is now at the House of Lords, 18 pages of amendments, which is going to throw this country into a draconian police authoritarian state. We've got people who've gathered here from all different organisations in solidarity to make lots of noise in front of the House of Lords. The speeches have just started. Reporting here. So yeah, it's going to walk to the front and you get an idea of the scale of what's going on here. We've got Marvini is talking. Let's go and hear what she's got to say.
800,000 plus people want to make sure we have our right to protest.
Sorry, excuse me.
Our right to have a human right. 800,000 plus. How many of them are in there? There's more of us than them. There's more of us than them. This should be hope to you. This should make you feel proud of yourself. This makes you know that you're on the right side of history. This makes sure you know that you are doing the right thing. This lets you know you are not a criminal. You are not a criminal. What I'm about to actually introduce Chantal, to introduce the next speaker. You know why? Because my voice, I'm saving it. I'm saving it. I want to be annoying, I want to dance later on, I want to have a party. I want to be a little bit disruptive. Popo, we're not here for you really. We're here to do our own thing. We don't actually care that you're there. You're not even getting paid enough to even talk to us. So, can I remind everybody something? We do not talk to the police. Can I get my check? My check. We do not talk to the police. We do not talk to the police. We do not talk to the police. We just don't. This is your civil right to be able to stand here and do what you need to do. We're here to be annoying, right? Are we here to be annoying? So let me introduce my co-host, the queen of Merseyside, being the Merseyside Alliance, Chantal.
Good evening, beautifuls. Are we happy to be here? Exercising our right to free speech. When I say Kilda, you say Bill. Kilda. Kilda. When I say Kilda, you say Bill. Kilda. Kilda. When I say Kilda, you say Bill. Kilda. 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 Amazing. Now it is my pleasure to introduce this MP. She's called the Baby of Parliament and she's absolutely fantastic. She's a true socialist. She's one of the only MPs I know who's taken a pay cut and donated it to charity, put it that way. The incredible Nadia Whittam. Welcome, Nadia.
Nadia is taking the stage. Just a reminder, if you're watching this, can you please share?
Chantal, sis, thank you so much. It's honestly such an honour to be introduced by you. Just an absolute fighter for social justice, for socialism, for racial justice. An incredible young person and sister. Thank you. Friends, this country is standing on a slippery slope, and at the bottom of that slope is authoritarianism. And every minute that passes by, Boris Johnson and Priti Patel are pouring on the grease. This Conservative government is dismantling our rights right before our eyes. and it's waging war on marginalised communities. The Nationality and Borders Bill aims to prevent refugees from reaching our shores. It threatens to strip British citizenship from second and third generation immigrants, people like me, people like many of us here. And the Elections Bill, which is being debated in the House of Commons tonight, is aiming to stop people from being able to vote if they don't have a photo ID. That's disproportionately targeting people of colour, young people, working class people. And now they want to stop us from protesting, from standing up against oppression, from holding those in power to account. Why? Because history shows us that protest works. This bill, let's hear it for protest. Well, this bill would ban protests that are disruptive, annoying, or noisy. Come on, let's hear it. It would ban protests right here, outside Parliament, outside the corridors of power. It would make so many of the rights that we have won today, it would make it impossible to win those. The point of protest is to force those in power to sit up, to listen, to act. This bill would make legal protests ineffective and effective protests illegal. But when our very existence is threatened by inaction on the climate, when racism and injustice are destroying black lives, when we're governed by corrupt liars who are cutting and privatising our public services and treating workers with contempt, we can't afford not to protest. We know that people will fall foul of this bill. We know that this bill will ruin lives, that it will put activists in prison, and we know that it's marginalised groups, whether it's young black people, whether it's the Gypsy, Roma and traveller communities, who will be disproportionately targeted. Not suffer, but targeted, because that is what this bill aims to do. That's the whole point of it. We hear over and over again, don't we, from many Tories that they care about freedom of speech. Well, where are they now? If they care so passionately about freedom of speech, where are they? If their support only extends to causes that they support and they believe in, then they don't believe in it at all. So I challenge Tory lords and any lords who have ever uttered the words freedom of speech, vote down this bill tonight. Stand up for it now, or you're just hypocrites. Friends, this government is losing power and strength with every passing minute, with every passing day. And I hope that the Lords in there tonight will vote down the worst aspects of this bill. But you know what? No matter what happens tonight, we are in this for the long haul. We have to make this bill so unpopular, so unworkable, that it can't be enforced. We've got to bring it down, not just in Parliament, but in the streets as well. To give us no choice but to scrap it. Are you in it for the long haul? I'm certainly in it for the long haul. Solidarity, let's kill this bill.
So Chantal is coming on, right? Chantal. So I'm gonna make this clear. I know the police officers are swarming and they say they don't need us. Even though I've told you guys not to speak to them, they're still going to try and speak to you. Let me make it clear. We are here to make noise. We're here to be annoying. So you do not have the right to come and tell us any of your laws, because your law has never been for us. It's been against us right now. So right now, can we make some noise? Come on, tell the people. Come on, tell the people.
Amazing, guys. Amazing. Right, guys. I've got something to say right now, so if I could request that we just pause for 1 second. Because the officers behind me, guys, if anyone's near the drummers, can you my check? My check! The officers behind me aren't going to wait, and I know my sister Marvina has said we're not going to speak to the police, but I'm going to speak to the police today. For those who aren't aware, I am a former police officer, and the reason the officers behind me are getting nervous is because, unlike Boris Johnson, I'm not a police officer anymore, but this is a real police uniform, and it's the uniform that I wore 5 years ago when I joined the police force. Here's my little number, 1008. And don't worry, officers, I've made arrangements to return this uniform to the police when I get back to Liverpool. But I want to speak directly to the police officers here today, because 5 years ago, I joined the police force, and they say don't meet your heroes, and I would say that's advice to live by, because I joined the police force thinking I was joining the good guys. I joined the police force thinking I was serving my community, and thinking that I was protecting vulnerable people. And quite quickly, I realised that it was the opposite. I was protecting the interests of those in power. I'd follow vans and money around. I'd go to working class areas, and officers would search working class kids who'd done nothing wrong with no grounds, and when I question it, they'd just laugh it off. And then we'd go to the posh areas where the rich kids were. We'd find them breaking the law. The officers would drive them home and take them to the parents and say they've got the whole future ahead of them. We don't want to send them to prison. Now, I will speak to the officers today. I want you to think about why you joined the police force and what you intended to do, because if you joined to serve your community like I did, then you should not be thinking that you are going to enforce this bill if it does pass. Most of the officers in the police force are not part of the ruling class. They're part of the working class. And there's a famous line when you're a police officer. I know we've seen those thin blue line badges circulating, and the idea is that the thin blue line is the line that stands between the monsters and the weak, and it's supposed to be this line between chaos and order. But right now, the thin blue line is the line that stands between the working class and the elite. And you need to ask yourselves, who do you serve and who do you protect? Let's say it. Who do you serve and who do you protect? And again, who do you serve and who do you protect? And again, who do you serve and most of us are supposed to consent to the policing that we experience? Do we consent to having our protest policed and made illegal? Do we consent? No! Do we consent to being criminalised for touching a statue? No! Do we consent to black working class kids being stopped and searched with no grounds or suspicion to do so? No! And do we consent to women being made unsafe because professionals working with women are now required to disclose if they make any disclosures of serious violence? So those people who women will go to, if they don't want to go to the police, are now required to tell on them. Do we consent to that? No! We do not consent. And let me tell you something, if you plan to enforce these laws, a line will be drawn in the sand. And we will no longer tell our children to run to police officers if they feel unsafe. We will tell them to run from you. There will come a time when your grandchildren will ask you what you did in this moment, officers. I know most of you are working class. I know most of you grew up on council estates like me, and your grandchildren will ask you what you did in this moment. And are you going to tell them that you were just following orders, or are you going to tell them that you stood up and you made a change? Because I also know that each and every one of you has discretion. It's the same discretion that you use when you choose not to lock someone up for being drunk and disorderly, and you choose to let them make their way home. It's the same discretion you use when you choose not to arrest everyone in Parliament who's taken cocaine, but to do drug swabs outside nightclubs and working class areas. It's the same discretion you use when you fine nurses for having protests to save the NHS, yet you don't find them having wine and cheese parties in Parliament. This bill is only enforceable if you choose to enforce it, and each and every one of you has the discretion to say no. So it's time to think about what the law says and what is morally right, because it is not morally right to criminalise the working class. And let me tell you something. If you do choose to cross that line, we will be ready. Does anyone here plan to stop protesting if they make it illegal? No! Does anyone here plan to stop making noise and coming out in numbers to defend our human rights? No! Let's make some noise, guys. Show them where we are. Come on. This is a significant moment in time, and each and every one of us has to think about what we're going to do. Each and every one of us has to think about that conversation when the next generation asks us, what did you do? Well, we fought with everything we had, and we will continue to fight, and we will continue to resist this bill. So beautiful. Let's tell them what we think. Whose streets? Our streets. And again now, whose streets? Our streets. And again now, whose streets? Our streets. And again now, whose streets? Our streets. Let's go. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. And this is what democracy sounds like. This is what democracy sounds like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. And this is what democracy sounds like. This is what democracy sounds like. The people united will never be defeated. 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 Kill, kill, kill the bill. 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 Amazing, guys. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the amazing Caroline Lucas, who is a Green Party MP. You ready, Caroline?
Wow. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for making so much noise. Those doors over there. Thank you. Thank you for pledging to be as noisy, as disruptive, and as annoying as it takes to defend this precious right, our right to peaceful protest. Because we know this bill would be the death sentence for our right to peaceful protest. We know this bill would be the death sentence for our freedom of assembly, our freedom of our expression, and that is why it is so dangerous. It is dangerous, it is undemocratic, it is draconian, and it is racist. This bill gives our Home Secretary the right to decide whether a protest can go ahead, whether it is too noisy, whether it is too disruptive. This bill would make of Greta Thunberg sitting alone with her placard outside the Swedish Parliament, it would make of her a criminal. It would make criminals of our young people who are standing up because they know that peaceful protest is essential if we are to get the government to act with the speed and the scale that the climate crisis demands. But we are here to say that the criminals are not the young people who are protesting around climate change. The criminals are the people in the Home Office and in Number 10 who are trying to take away this precious right of peaceful protest, and we will not let them do it. This right, this bill as well, as we know, expands the definition of trespass, which would take away the rights of our friends in the Gypsy and Traveller and Roma communities. And we stand in solidarity with them tonight. And we say we will not allow their way of life to be criminalised by this bill. Finally, I am so proud and honoured to be standing alongside so many powerful people from the Black and ethnic minority communities, the people of colour, the people who are saying here that the women who are here, who are saying so loudly and clearly that this bill is racist. By expanding the way in which stop and search is operating, we know that that gets used time and time again against our friends in the Black community and the communities of people of colour. We stand in solidarity again, and we say we will not allow this bill to go ahead. We will defend our right to the protest. We will kill the bill.
As Caroline Lucas, the only Green Party MP in the House of Parliament.
So while I'm doing this, when I say
Joining us,
drive,
we're
you
outside
say
the House of Lords.
Drive! Drive! When I say drive, you say to survive. Drive! Drive! That's the campaign I need you to know about. That's for the GRT communities, to my new travellers, to my Romani communities. We stand in solidarity with you. We love you. This is not an oppression Olympics. This is a time for all of us to be united. This is a time for us not to be divided. So, I think we're ready to have some laughs, right? Let's laugh.
So if you're just watching this, I'd like everybody, if you could please share. That's the bottom right-hand corner, it says share. Everybody needs to know about what's going on. Tag 10 of your friends. We need to be reporting what the mainstream media is not reporting.
To my brother from another mother. Fine boy, no pimple. I'll let my sister introduce them now. Come on, Dame Baptist.
It's the incredible Dame Baptist. Hey.
You got it. Thank you, Chantel. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Thank you very much. You think I'd be better with a microphone and public speaking, but you know, I've done comedy for about 10 years. Thank you, sir. All right. I'm normally more professional than this. But I've been doing comedy for about 10 years, and I can be honest, like, I'm probably in a position whereby I wouldn't have to get involved in a cause like this. But then if we're not able to have freedom or to protest, freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, what's the fucking point in doing what I do? It's because of work like this that I'm able to do what I do and be able to realize both my creative and existential potential anyway. When I look at the state of this country and the state of the world right now, I think of that analogy, you know, when people say that if you put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out straight away so it doesn't boil to death. But what you do instead is that you heat up that water very slowly, and before this frog even knows it, it's in boiling water. I'm not sure if you remember this, but this government has been putting raw sewage in the fucking water. So the analogy has gotten way out of control at this point. I'm just basically here to say that I have complete solidarity in what we're doing. Obviously, as a rule of thumb, we do not talk to the police. However, I'm a warden aware the police are listening. So to you, I say, if they'll do this to us, the people that literally pay your salaries and the reasons why you're able to feed your families, how long do you think it's going to be before they fuck you over? Because it's just a matter of time before the only thing I have to say to the police is, well, I told you so. I really told you so. So, yeah, I basically just want to say that I am more than aware through my experiences as being a young black man living in the United Kingdom about police brutality, institutional racism, police corruption. And naturally, when you allow something like that to fester, it's only a matter of time before we all become affected and we are effectively under a tyrannical and authoritarian police state, which, as long as I have a platform, because of the people that went before me that fought for the rights for me to be able to express myself and protest against inequality and injustice, I'm going to be here in solidarity with you as well. So, I'm more than aware, you know, and I'd like to come on stage and make loads and loads of jokes, but the truth is, if I don't support and show solidarity with you here, and you know, support your freedom for expression, it's only a matter of time before I find myself marginalized and I can't do what I do anyway. So I stand here in solidarity with those of you who are here for ecological reasons, those of you who are here in support of the working class, you know, in terms of Black Lives Matter, Black trans lives, the entire LGBT community, globally and Irish travelers. I'm here in solidarity with all of you, and I'm more than aware that, you know, by even being here, this might be one of my favorite gigs and maybe my last gig. But at the end of the day, there are some things that are more important, and as Chantel, as many of the speakers have said, this is bigger than just me being able to enjoy fame and profile. Many years from now, you know, when some of the younger people here are of age and they ask me what I did, I don't want to end up being a part of a meme because I failed to fight for the rights to be able to do what I do anyway. So it has been a pleasure to come here and stand alongside you in complete solidarity, and just to let you know that I am completely against this bill. And just on this point as well, no one who's doing a good job doesn't want feedback. You ever notice that? It's very strange. I find that very strange. You know, because last time I checked, the people in power are the people that support a free and open market and economy. Well, within a free economy, normally the customer's always right. And the last time I fucking checked, since we pay our salaries, we are the customer, which means we are right. And we get to ask you questions. Now, if you feel like you're doing a good job, you wouldn't need to stop people from protesting, would you really? Now, if you're going so far as to say, you can't even tell us when we're fucking up, obviously you know you're fucking up. You know, I feel, you know, there are a lot, we are, unfortunately, have become more of a divided society than we've ever been. And a lot of the time, people that oppose all the amazing narratives I'm hearing today are the people that want to say mean stuff, and then they go, but it's freedom of speech, it's freedom of speech. And yet, ironically, we are the ones here defending their freedom of speech and their freedom to assemble and express themselves, even if we don't agree with them. Because last time I checked, that's what separates us, you know, from, you know, chaos, is the ability to be able to have discourse and discuss our grievances. And any kind of establishment that doesn't want to hear anything, well, that's not human, because it's a part of our human biology as a social species to be able to interact. So I'm glad that you've all taken the initiative to speak truth to power. It's what I've tried to make my livelihood, and I, you know, stand here in solidarity with other comics and creatives that are here as well. And I just let you know that we completely support what you guys do, and I'm just like the rest of you. And in fact, I probably need this more than you do, because saying what I want and calling this government and the police stupid is how I pay my rent. So, thank you for helping me do that. At the end of the day, this system, whether it wants to accept it or not, is nothing without us. Even as they try to exercise more authoritarian policy and try to push through more corrupt bills, those have no effect unless we choose to acquiesce to them. They need us, we don't need them. I didn't plan on quoting Ed Sheeran, but here we are in more and more unprecedented times. But you know, at the end of the day, if you can go platinum by saying fuck the police, that sounds like a good business model to me. And so, at the end of the day, anyone looking at this whole thing logically understands that, you know, any being, any entity can do a job, but being able to express yourself and chronicle your existence of humanity is a gift that we have as a species, and we can't let any institution, any person, any tyrant or any authoritarian take that away from us. On that point, I feel like I've had my right to protest enough, but I want to thank you all for listening. But I humbly thank you for your solidarity, and those of you who don't get to realize the same level of profile and fame and status that I might do from expressing myself, you are still out here in the freaking cold. So I cannot thank you enough. I've been Dane Baptiste. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank
You know what? I realise how short I am after him.
Okay, bear with me a moment. I'm just going to change my microphone. And if you can't hear me when I do, just please tell me in the comments.
Say things really loud. So when I say kill, you say the bill. Kill. Kill. When I say kill, you say the bill. Kill. Kill. When I say kill, you say the bill. Kill. Kill. I'm so happy to introduce this next speaker. By the way, I live in Leeds, you know. I'm from West Yorkshire. Big up to West Yorkshire crew. Let me explain something, yeah?
I didn't know that for a moment, could you?
I'm about to introduce a guy that I actually see as my brother, yeah? Because, like, swear down. Swear down, yeah? Richard. They're trying to take a picture. Richard, MP. I should call you MP. Okay, all due protocol. My brother from another mother, Richard Bergen from Labour MP from West Yorkshire, Leeds. Give it to Lord!
Thank you very much. And let's have another big round of applause for Malvina. It's Boris Johnson, if Boris Johnson thinks that any law in this country or around the world will stop Marvina annoying people in power, he's got another thing coming. This law, if it's passed, won't stop Marvina, and it won't stop all of you. This law, if it's passed, will be completely unenforceable. This law, if it's passed, is going to become ungovernable. And why? Because they can pass all the laws that they want, but they can't take away from us our freedom to speak, our freedom to take direct action, and our freedom to protest. But we see what this rotten government of the elite are doing, don't we? They're looking at all the ways people can fight back, and they're trying to stop you from fighting back. In our society, there are three main ways that people can fight back against injustice. People can vote, people can take strike action, and people can protest. And each of these three ways, this government has them in their sights. They want to suppress the black vote. They want to suppress the ethnic minority vote. They want to suppress the working class vote. And that's why these Tories, who supposedly believe in civil liberties, but only for them and their wine and cheese parties, are trying to make you take your passport or your driving licence, if you've got one, in order to vote. They're passing anti-trade union laws to make it harder and harder for workers to take strike action. And now they're trying to criminalise protest. They know that they're waging a politics of the 1%, so they've got to try and stop the 99% fighting back. And as long as there is injustice, as long as there is inequality, as long as there is racism and discrimination, people will fight back, and no law passed in the unelected House of Lords or in the House of Commons can stop that. There's a sound, and it's not just the sound you're making tonight. The sound that reverberates through history is the sound of the people protesting against injustice. And when it comes down to it, when the history books are written, it's not this minister or that minister that's remembered who stood in the way of justice. It's the people who fought for justice who are remembered. It's a mass movement. It's the suffragettes who chained themselves to railings. It's the miners who fought back. It's the people who fought for the vote. It's the people who take direct action. And make no mistake, this dreadful, rotten, authoritarian, anti-democratic bill is a tribute to all of you and your movements. Why? Because this rotten government has introduced this authoritarian bill as a direct response to the successful Black Lives Matter movement. It's introduced this bill as a direct response to the Extinction Rebellion movement. The government is worried, and so they should be, because the mass movements are expanding, our enthusiasm is expanding, people's determination is deepening. There is nothing they can do, because no power on earth in Downing Street, at the IMF, in the House of Lords, or anywhere else can stop the power of the risen people who know that they are going to not only defeat this bill, even if it's passed, they're going to create a better society. And I'll leave you with this. The best thing you can do, I can feel the hand of history on my shoulder. The best thing you can do for humanity, for democracy, for human rights, for decency, for justice, is to, whether this bill is passed or not, throw it into the dustbin of history where it belongs. Thank you.
Richard Bergen MP, thank you Richard. Let's do a little check of our lungs. Power to the people. Power to the people. People got
Okay, if you're just joining us by any chance, we're in front of House of Lords on the eve of voting on the amendments going through on the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill 2021.
Let's go. Power! People!
Which is essentially going to change democracy in this country forever.
Right, I was saying to Marvina the other day, it's nearly a year since we started with the Kill the Bill coalition. And in that year, it has just been incredible to see so many people coming together to fight this bill. Now, we have fair weather protesters who just come out in the summer, but it's the middle of bloody winter and we're all out here today, so massive well done. Give yourselves a round of applause, guys.
Okay, take two. I'm just about to change my battery pack, so you can see here.
And speaking of incredible activists, I brought a little present with me from Liverpool. My favourite activist of all time and one of my co-activists in the Reclaim Pride Liverpool coalition. Felix Mufti Wright is an actor, a playwright, the co-director of Transform Theatre. If you've been looking at Selfridge's campaigns, you will have gorgeous bloody face all over billboards recently. A model and a generally gorgeous bloody person who keeps me entertained 24/7. The incredible, fabulous, beautiful, amazing. I love you so much. And 21 next
Quick mic
week.
check.
I'm going to do it again.
Can you hear me? If somebody can hear me, can you write in the comments, please?
Felix Mufti Wright. Before Felix comes on, because it's almost your 21st birthday, we know what we've got to do again. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Felix. Happy birthday to you. And fuck the Tories.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the mic check.
Hello, everyone. My name is Felix. If you couldn't tell, I'm from Liverpool.
Please remember to share this as well.
I speak to you all today as a queer person, as a person of colour, as a working class person, as someone who has come from a deprived area that has been gentrified and ruined by austerity. But today, with the Kill the Bill movement, we all stand here, we're all here for different reasons, but we all have the same goal, and that's to speak our truths and what we need in our intersectional communities, individually and loudly. My granddad, Rashid Mufti, was one of the leaders of the Toxteth uprisings. And I can feel him with me now, because we are facing the same problems that they faced: over policing in working class areas. If you criminalise the working class, how do you expect them to become anything else than incarcerated? Super prisons are being built, private super prisons are being built, when there are so many jails up and down the country that are 30% capacity. How does that make sense? If they are building more prisons, what does that mean? They need more criminals. When we are thinking about our future, A very, very true reality is the privatisation of the NHS. And I don't believe it is a coincidence that this bill is coming into place as the NHS is slowly getting secretly privatised and privatised. That is something that affects us all, and if it doesn't affect you, I'm happy for that you can afford private healthcare. But for the reality of most of us, we really rely on the NHS, and that is one of the last good things about this country. If not the last. No matter what happens, no matter what amendments they put in, no matter if the bill is passed, we will still be here. I'm 20, there's so many young people who won't have this. There's people of all different generations who are here today, all people from different communities saying, we won't have this. No matter what is getting passed, it will not stop us from being who we are, being who we were meant to be, and being who we all are when we're all together. Thank you.
Give me a big round of applause for Felix! As Felix
Amazing speech.
We will not be moved on this. If you change the law, then we're still coming for you. Should we do a little "We shall not be moved"? I haven't heard that one for a while. Are we ready? We shall not be moved. 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 Have you ever started a chant, got in the middle of it and gone, I actually don't know how this one ends? That's what just happened then. I literally thought there's a little bit in the middle, but I don't know it. If anyone knows it, feel free to shout out now. No. We're all alright on that one. But it is my pleasure to introduce Geraint Graham MP for Labour. Please tell me I pronounced your name correctly.
Geraint Davis.
Geraint Davis.
Yeah.
I was so much focused on the first bit that I got the second bit wrong. I'll repeat that. Geraint Davis, Labour MP. Welcome, Geraint.
Alright, thank you very much. I'm Geraint Davis. I come here to be with you from Wales. And what I'm going to say is there's been a lot of talk in the media, hasn't there, about garden parties. And this is really a cloak of cover for something more dastardly that's happening in here tonight. And that is the removal of all our democratic right to peaceful protest. And that peaceful protest through history has been an agent of change throughout history, as I say. Whether it's the suffragettes, whether it's peace campaigners, whether it's climate change protesters, whether it's people who want to stay in the EU, or whether it's the right of trade unions to protest. This is fundamental to our democratic process. And I don't know where the trade union movement is actually, because frankly this bill will destroy the right to picket as well. And it's good that we're here in so many numbers, because this campaign needs to go on and on and on. The truth is that what this bill actually says is that if there's a prospect of inconvenience, of noise, disturbance, business continuity, the police should have the right and indeed the duty and the power to intervene to stop it. And that means in terms of businesses and pickets, they can just move straight in. So we need to stop that. I chair the all-party group on democracy and constitution, and we looked at a report on what happened in Clapham in terms of Sarah Everard, in terms of the protests against this bill in Bristol. And what, as you'll expect, we found was that the police's action there was disproportionate in intervening, undermined public health in the case of Sarah Everard, in a vigil that, after all, was put together to actually mourn the death of someone who'd been murdered tragically by a police officer. In the case of Bristol, again, obviously the police are supposed to be there to protect property and life. What this bill would do is to give them the power to intervene and disperse people just for having a protest. And they overreacted in that case. There was cases of blading, using shields to hit protesters who were sat on the ground, and we found that was disproportionate. And we believe that the police should go back to the founding principles of Robert Peel, which is the police is part of the community is part of the police. It's about consent. It is not an executive arm of an authoritarian regime to infringe upon our democracy. And what we want in that bill, obviously the best thing that could happen to that bill is to throw it in the dustbin of history. But minimally, what we've done is to move an amendment to say that there should be a duty on the police to facilitate peaceful protest as part of our democracy. The police should be part of the agents of democracy, not part of the oppression of democracy. And let me be clear, the police officers I've spoken to in Swansea agree with me. They don't want to be stopping people peacefully protesting. They don't want to be thrust forward in the line of the interest of an authoritarian regime. And finally, I would just say this. People will have heard of Aneurin Bevan, the founder of the Health Service. Aneurin Bevan said that what happens in politics is there's a struggle between property and the interests of property and poverty. And during that, property will attack democracy, because democracy is the only way that we can have what we need and what we want. And as millions of people are going hungry, as millions of people can't pay their bills, as 500,000 people are now, less people are working, we need to be going out, protesting, voting and getting mobilised. But in fact, what's happening is this bill is to stop democracy alongside making people have ID to vote. So democracy is actually being destroyed, and we need to defend democracy to defend the people. So I'm with you, let's do it, let's stop this bill.
Inspirational words. Thank you to all of our MPs who've come along today. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce a community elder and an incredible activist, Sarah, from Women of Colour in the Global Women's Strike.
Thank you everybody. I just wanted to introduce my colleague from Women Against Rape. They are a grassroots, multiracial, anti-racist women's group that's been fighting for 40 years for services, for justice, and calling out the police. They fought to make rape and marriage a crime, and I just wanted to highlight, these are just some of the groups that need a focus in our organizing today, because many grassroots organizations work day in, day out, but do not get the prominence they should get. I wanted to say how glad I am that the movement against the police bill and the nationality and borders bill are coming together like never before. This is exactly what we need. Our colleague from the All Africa Women's Group spoke on Saturday when some of you were there. I know many of you were there. And she talked about how asylum seekers are treated. 60% of women asylum seekers, they did a survey and found that women were destitute. That's a scandal in a country like this. We know that not only are women working hard, but immigrants and asylum seekers bring the movement. And we know they want this bill to stop us moving country, to stop us protesting, to stop us shutting down detention centers, to stop us from fighting for the rights of immigrants to cross the channel or get here by any means necessary. We have worked for 500 years of slavery and empire. Okay, we've worked for 500 years. Slavery and empire. We have every right to be here. The wealth we see around us, that's the work of enslaved people and also white working class people in this country. And we're here to be together. We're defending the rights of those crossing the Channel or the sea or the Mediterranean. They are us and we are them. Boris Johnson and his corrupt crew, they want the police bill and the nationality and borders bill to tell the people of this country not to care, that lives don't matter, that people can die or go back where you came from. And we're here to say no, we're not having it. Okay, we need on the police. We don't want anybody to go in the police. Don't go there. But we need the police inside to be whistleblowers. And some of the women police officers have started to do that. They're calling out the police who do domestic violence, the police who rape, and the police, they allowed 4 gay men to be murdered because they weren't doing their job. They were out partying or taking selfies or whatever toxic things they get up to. But we need those police who are listening. You've got to be whistleblowers if you're serious, or get out of the way. I'm going to wrap up. We've got to count our victories. The Colston 4 won. And they won because the whole city of Bristol got behind them. And the jury found them not guilty. And the academics came to court and gave evidence. And that's what we need the academics and professionals to do. We need the unions to refuse to go along with this bill if it's passed. We need the Labour Party to get up off your backside. We know there are good people. There are good people in the Labour Party. And some of them are here today, but there are too many rotten people in the Labour Party. And a fire had to be put under them to come out and go against the amendments. It took the environmental movement and the Green Party to put a fire under them. So we're calling that out here and now. Okay, last of all, another victory. We remember the Indian farmers' strike. They brought down Modi to his knees. And the people of India, they also told us that Modi is hand in glove with Priti Patel. They're in the same right-wing movement. And they want the bills. They want these 2 bills because they want apartheid here. But we're against them, and they're working with the Israeli government. And we need more information about that, but we need to do that. We have to be standing with Palestine. There's no 2 ways about it. Okay, I'm finished there. Okay, I'll finish there and just say we have to stay together. We have to cross the divides. We need a self-help movement, not NGOs. We don't want 1 or 2 women going up. We need all of us to go up. We need the whole working class to go up. Together, we can win. Thank you.
Okay, hi. Oh, sorry. No, can we? Thank you. Oh, sorry. Decolonize. 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 We don't want your blood money. We don't want your blood money. Wanna save the world, honey. Wanna save the world, honey. We don't want your blood money. We don't want your blood money. Wanna save the world, honey. Wanna save the world, honey. Decolonize. Decolonize.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Now, before I introduce the next speaker, I just wanted to kind of drive down on one of Sarah's points about officers within the police. And I was one of the officers who whistle blew on racism and sexism within the police, but there are ones out there. It's usually the women, it's usually the black women, if I'm honest with you. And it's also usually officers who are new to the force, because there's a process of institutionalisation. It takes about 2 years to be deinstitutionalised. But officers really need to be having a look at themselves and looking at the murderers and the rapists and the people taking selfies with bodies and say, do I want those people to represent me? And if the answer is no, do something about it. You have the power to do something about it. One person can make the difference, and that's all. But it is my pleasure to introduce Andy from an organisation called Deepak. If somebody could give me a hand with the mic just so I can ensure Andy's got the mic. Andy's just there.
How you doing? Can you hear me? Yeah! Are you proper fucking angry? Are you proper fucking angry? I think it's really, really important to talk about a few personal stories, because we can lose sight of the reason that we are out here. And I think while it's a handy narrative for the government to talk about the big campaigns, those big campaigns are a response to attacks on communities. And it's the attacks on communities that are at the centre and the driving force behind this bill. This is a government that 5 years ago, the United Nations said was guilty of grave and systemic violations of disabled people's human rights. Indeed, they were the first government across the globe to be found guilty of that. And when we came out to the streets to tell that story, to tell the story of Earl Graham and Jodie Whiting, and when we came out and we created spaces where that story could be told and where our voice could be heard, we were dragged from our chairs, and our wheelchairs were broken, and we were sectioned, and the police reported us to PIP and the DWP and the social services, and they took benefits, and they took cars, and they threatened to take disabled people's kids, and they broke people's shoulders, and they arrested disabled activists. These are the people that we elected, and now we pay to represent our best interests. There is no stranger fucking danger. It comes from the over-primped up, chinless fucking wonders across that road who sit tonight and sign away our rights at the stroke of a fucking pen. The rights we enjoy as disabled people are built upon the sacrifices that other disabled people have made over 50 years when they came and put their bodies and their well-being and their lives in many cases on the line here and in other spaces around this city and around this country. We won't fucking let them down. We won't let down the people who created the space for us, and we won't let down the disabled people and the young people of this country who are to inherit it after us. Because it is our fucking responsibility to stand up and say no further. No more stories will be written in blood. No more of our community will be beaten to death with brown envelopes and fear and made to wear nappies at night when they don't need to, because this country cannot provide the services that hold body and spirit together. The attacks in our community will continue. That's what this is about. The attacks in your communities will continue. We need to have a plan, a long-term plan beginning tonight, when you go away and decide how your household, how your family, how your workplace, how your neighbourhood, how your community will organise to make this country ungovernable from day one when this bill becomes law. Because that's how it will be resisted. It'll be resisted with direct action, civil disobedience, takeovers, occupation, strikes, and taking to the streets and not moving until we build the kind of future that is in our image and the kind of future that best lifts us all in solidarity. Take it from here, people.
Well said.
Amazing, amazing words from Andy. Thank you so much. Is this
Yeah.
quiet? Can you hear me? Mic check, mic check. Let's try again. There we are! Mic check, mic check! Right, I'm going to do a little chant, and the answer is stand up, fight back, you'll get it. When the working class are under attack, what are we going to do? Stand up, fight back! When black people are under attack, what are we going to do? Stand up, fight back! When women are under attack, what are we going to do? Stand up, fight back! What are we going to do? Stand up, fight back! What are we going to do? Stand up, fight back! Incredible, incredible. Now it is my honour to introduce Steve Hadley from the RMT Union. They're an absolutely brilliant union.
Brothers, sisters and comrades, those of you who have not noticed the absolute irony of protesting outside Parliament, where the remnants of robber barons and lifelong peers who have never been elected in their life are the last ditch to save democracy in this country. And we still have illusions in parliamentary democracy. It's absolutely beyond me. I'm here as a trade unionist first, and then secondly, but just as importantly, as somebody who was raised in the occupied 6 counties in the north of Ireland. And as a trade unionist, we've faced the most oppressive anti-trade union laws in Europe, and outside of Japan, probably in South America, the world. We don't actually get shot in this country, but unionists in South America do. But we have a situation now where they're trying to make it more and more difficult to go on strike and more difficult to protest. They've reduced the amount of pickets allowed on a picket line to 6. You have to sign in with the police before you go on a picket line, and you can be arrested if you don't do that. It's not actually happened yet, but they'll use it selectively, because like all the laws that they pass, unless you're actually a danger to the state, then they won't implement them. The minute you become a danger, they will be implemented. Now it's coming up to the 50th anniversary of Bloody Sunday on the 28th of this month, and for young people that don't know what that's about, in my hometown of Derry, the army murdered 13 civilians who were having a peaceful protest. And you see, that's where this slide into authoritarianism happens, because it happens in the north of Ireland. You still have in the north of Ireland internment without trial, people held for months and years at a time with absolutely no trial. And if they can do it over there, they can do it over here. That is a reality. If they can murder people in Derry under British control, British occupation, they can murder people in London under British occupation. If they can kill people and they can imprison people like the Craig Avon on the information of a drug user who's been paid money to incriminate people, they can do it over here. So we've got no differences in parties at the minute. We've got 2 cheeks of the same arse. We've got the Conservative Party and the Conservative Party Light. And anybody that thinks different, where were all these great comrades when people like Chris Williamson and Jackie Walker were getting thrown out of the Labour Party? Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. So there's going to be no parliamentary saviour coming to rescue you. And it's important to realise, when people have actually taken to the streets, like these people from the environmentalists, their Extinction Rebellion and the Insulate Britain, when they've actually done more than talk and spout hot air and actually put their money where their mouth is, suddenly this bill appears. Because it's harming profits. And the reality is this: unless working people take control, not just of what muppet in there is misrepresenting you, but actually take control of production and take control of the organisation of society. We're not just facing a choice anymore between socialism and barbarism. We're facing a choice between socialism and extinction as a species. And whatever shit these descendants parents of Robert Barron's actually agree tonight, whatever it comes out as, we will be here tomorrow, we'll be here the day after, the RMT will be striking for workers' rights, and we want you in Extinction Rebellion, Black Lives Matter, to come with us and form a social force that will bring these bastards down once and forever.
Ain't it funny that a Black Lives Matter activist is standing and bigging up Extinction Rebellion, eh? No, it's not actually, it's normal. Because climate justice is also part of the fight. And I want to take a moment to introduce this next person who is so instrumental. Miranda from XR Families. I want you to show some love and adoration to this queen. Please stand next to me. So apparently we created this building because Black Lives Matter and Extinction Rebellion came on the streets and told them to go do one. And guess what? I'm so proud to stand next to you. I'm so proud of all my rebels. Rebels in the house, make some noise! Extinction! XR Family always ensures that we make our protest child friendly. And this is something we should be proud of. So give some love to Miranda!
Thank you, Marvina. I'm really just here to say, kill the bill! Kill the bill! Kill the bill! The climate crisis is a racist crisis. It's a sexist crisis. It's an ableist crisis. I'm here as a mother, standing up for my children's future. I work day in, day out for them. Either I'm looking after them or I'm fighting for their future. I don't want them to look at me when I'm older and say, why didn't you do something? Why didn't you do something about the climate crisis? Why didn't you do something about racial injustice? Why didn't you do anything about all the systemic drivers that are destroying our planet while there was still time? I want to be able to tell them that I tried, and even if it doesn't work, they all know that I did everything I could for their future. And that's why I stand up and I say, Black Lives Matter! 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 I'm going to introduce Clive Lewis, Labour MP. One thing I respect about him so much is he is interested in groups and individuals and people from different politics, different ways of thinking, coming together if they are in for being progressive and for making a better world. And that's what we need right now. We need everyone coming together across movements, across platforms, different voices, different struggles. We are all united. It's the same systems that are oppressing all of us, and we need to unite to bring them down. So, hand over to Clive.
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Good to be here, live straight from Norwich. Anyone from Norwich? Yeah, you always get that when you shout out from Norwich. So far away, but you know what? Norwich is here in spirit. Look, I just wanted to say a few things. First of all, I agree with many of the speakers. You're not going to find justice. You're not going to find results in there. You are the solution. You will be the people that make a difference. It won't happen in there. But there are some people. I can see some sisters down here. Who are you from Labour? I got some sisters down here before. I can see some of them. Have they gone? Nadia Whitmore, Olivia Blake. There are some people in there who are fighting the good fight and will continue to fight the good fight. Caroline Lucas, fighting the good fight. Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell, Richard Bergen, Zara Sultana. There are people in there fighting the good fight. And you'll notice I didn't just say the red team, I also said the green team, because ultimately, if we want to take this lot down, if we want race justice, if we want climate justice, then we have to stand together and we have to work out what unites us.
not what divides us. Now look, I want to say a couple of things. One thing is we're standing in the shadow of that place. We're standing in the shadow of the Lord's. And I want you to understand that when people say, we live in a democracy, you have to remember democracy is on a sliding scale, okay? Here's democracy over there, and there's authoritarianism, and it slides up and down. And at the moment, that slide is heading rapidly towards authoritarianism, okay? And in there, the people making the decisions are people, many of them, who have paid good money to the Tory party for their peerages. And we in the House of Commons are not even going to get a vote on a large part of what is going through the House of Lords tonight. But it gets worse, because those same wealthy people who paid money to the Tory party for their peerages, much of that money, or some of that money, comes from your taxes, from the services that this government gives to those private providers, who then recycle it, send it back to the Tories, and then they give them a peerage. And now they are making decisions about your democracy, your future. That isn't democracy. That is not democracy. So look, I've said it before, I've said it in there, I'll say it out here. If we were playing authoritarian bingo, we would have a full house. They're coming for our human rights. They've already come for our trade union rights. They're coming for our voting rights, our right to protest. And now Priti Patel can take 6 million people's right to citizenship away without ever consulting them. So I'm going to tell you something now. If you want to stand up to this, do you want to stand up to this? Don't worry about the numbers here tonight, because you are the vanguard. You're holding the flame, because when this country wakes up to the authoritarianism that we are sleepwalking into, you will be here holding the flame of democracy, holding the flame of the right to protest against the climate crisis, against racism, for Black Lives Matter, for your dignity, for your future, for your children, for your community. That's what you're here for, and you're holding that flame. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support. You make us feel worthwhile for being in there, you know. You make us feel worthwhile, so thank you so much. Thank you.
Before we bring up our next speaker, I want you to, we're going to need noise. We're going to need noise. We're going to need more noise than that, my brothers and sisters. And we're going to bust some pots and pans. We're going to make some noise. Give me some drumming. Give me some drumming. Because the person I'm going to bring up here to speak to you is one of my comedy comrades, and you're going to welcome them up here with chants and shouts and noise, which you welcome by banging, shouting, screaming, and making some noise for my comrade, Kate Smurfway.
Good intro.
You're all right. I've done this before. Thank you so much. It's so brilliant to be here, and I'm so excited to be here with all these incredible people who've put this together, who've spoken already. This bill is a bigger joke than anything that I could ever fucking write. 300 pages long and pushed through Parliament in an amount of time that meant most of the fuckers in there couldn't even read it themselves, let alone people around the country. And counts to praise when we haven't had a chance to read it. It's absolutely chocker with horse shit. As we've already heard, and if I'm repeating myself, I really couldn't care less. There are things in this bill which make life incredibly more difficult for people of colour, for asylum seekers, for victims of crime, for rape victims, sexual assault victims, for homeless people, for buskers, for members of the LGBT community, for Gypsy, Roma and traveller communities, and anybody who just wants to be a human being and live on this planet and have a fucking opinion. for comedians, I don't know if you know, but our job is basically to talk about shit that's annoying. And let me tell you something about humanity. Humanity is annoying. That's what we are. All across the planet, all the continents, all the nations, all the people, all the different backgrounds, all the different things that we do, all the different places that we live. God, we're wonderful, but fucking hell, we're annoying. Human beings are annoying. The slow walkers, the fast talkers, the noisy eaters, and all of those, just everywhere that we look, humanity is annoying, and that's what's great about humanity. We can do all these things, get in each other's way, disagree, argue, fight, and that's what we're allowed to do. We're allowed to annoy each other. We're allowed to be annoyed. I'll tell you what annoyed me the most in the last couple of years. It was that moment, and it might seem like a small thing, but it was that moment when we were all stuck indoors in lockdown, and somebody from the government told us that if we weren't happy, we should practice mindfulness. I mean, that is some serious level gaslighting, right? Let's be totally fucking clear. This government pushed ahead with an austerity programme that killed thousands of people. They pushed on with a hard Brexit that nobody wanted, took our liberties away, damaged our economy. They pushed ahead with ignoring the scientists, letting thousands and thousands of people die completely unnecessarily. They locked us in our homes without proper support, without a plan of how we were going to get out of this, and without the support that the health services need to drag us through this situation and get us out the other side. And then at the end of it, they were like, oh, are you feeling a bit miserable? Perhaps you should try meditating. Well, I'll give it a go, Boris, but if you don't mind, I think I might have a quick pop first of all at fucking revolution. The worst thing about this bill is that it is complete hypocrisy. There is nothing more annoying than somebody trying to stop you saying what the fuck you want to say. There is nothing more annoying than having your rights taken away and given to people who haven't even been trained in how to correctly administer the laws we've already got. And as a matter of fact, there's very little more annoying than hearing the heartbreaking stories of people around the country who've stuck to the laws we've got while these fuckers couldn't give a shit and don't think it's got anything to do with them. Once upon a time, if two people found each other annoying, that was called a sitcom. These days, if two people find each other annoying and one of those people is in a police uniform, that is called a crime. And I've never seen a sitcom called Totalitarian Police State because it wouldn't be fucking funny! And I don't know if we're going to win this, and I don't know if we're going to win the next battle, and I don't know if we're going to lose it, but I know this, we will always be right because we're the ones that are here for truth and for justice, and I hope you're all really fucking proud of you. Solidarity to all of you. See you at the next one.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was hilarious and also tragic because it's a reflection of the society we're living in. I just want to remind you, it's Martin Luther King Day, and way back when, Rosa Parks did a single person protest on a bus. She sat on a bus, and thanks to her actions, racial segregation in America was outlawed. Now, do you know that Rosa Parks didn't actually receive a prison sentence? She got a suspended sentence, and she got about a $200 fine. Based on the laws that Prissy Patel is trying to roll through today, she could have ended up in prison for 52 weeks. That's how draconian these laws are. My good friend here said that it took Putin 7 years to get laws like this through, yet Patel is getting them through in a year. What kind of turn has society taken? And don't even get me started on how hard they're making it for people to exercise their right to vote by bringing in voter ID. But we also need to consider electoral reform. We need to consider the power of a vote. on the actual power we have to effectively vote as part of a democracy. There are a lot of changes we need in Parliament because our voices aren't being heard loudly enough. And I'm about to introduce you to an incredible activist. Like Palestine Action are just absolute G's. If you've seen any of the action they're taking, free Palestine! 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 Welcome Max from Palestine Action.
Thank you everybody. Palestine Action enjoyed its greatest victory this week. After years and years of militant direct action, Palestine Action has forced the closure of an Israeli weapons factory in Oldham. We use the very tactics that entitled white men in that building right now are debating taking away from us. These tactics work, and that is why the British government is afraid and trying to take them away from us. Palestine Action is committed to removing the remaining 9 Elbit weapons factories from British soil. And police bill or no police bill, we will continue using direct action to do so. Now, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but what I do know is the biggest way to stick it to Priti Patel is if this bill passes, join Palestine Action tomorrow. With all of us together, these Elbit factories won't last in England. They won't last in the north of Ireland. We can rid the UK of Israeli weapons factories once and for all. Thank you very much.
When I say Jubilee, you say for climate, Jubilee.
For climate!
Jubilee.
For climate!
When I say Jubilee, you say for climate, Jubilee.
For climate!
Jubilee.
For climate!
I want to say thank you to you guys. Don't worry, we're not done yet. I know my voice, see? My voice is getting there. In fact, let me warm it up. Boris Johnson's a waste man.
Boris Johnson's a waste man. Boris Johnson's a waste man. Boris Johnson's a waste man. Boris Johnson's a waste man.
What?
Boris Johnson's a waste man.
What?
Boris Johnson's a waste man.
What?
Boris Johnson's a waste man.
See, I needed to ramp my voice up because it was like... But I get to introduce someone whose organization has been doing some amazing work. Amazing work. Amazing work. We're all about the love. We are 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 all about the love.
We are all about the love. We are all about the love. We are all about the love. We are all about the love. We are all about the love.
Hey, let me say this. In the left, yeah, we're not going to be fighting each other no more, are we?
No!
In the left, we're not going to be fighting each other, right?
No!
It's important we unite. It's important we unite. The people united
will never be defeated.
The people
united will never be defeated.
The people
united will never be defeated.
The people
united will never be defeated.
me. I'm about to introduce someone from Global Justice now. I'm about to introduce Nick Dearden, who is amazing with a lot of the work he's done around debt cancellation for the Global South, with a lot of work he's doing to make sure the voices of the marginalized keep being heard, with the amount of work he does, and he still acknowledges his privilege. Check your privilege, say that.
Check your privilege! Check your privilege!
And I get to check my privilege by introducing someone who I know is a brother in the fight, and we get to share the same stuff. No, he's not gonna. I'm not going to prison, by the way. I'm not going. If ever they arrest me, I want all of you.
Yes!
Look at me. I want all of you to make a lot of noise, yeah? If they try and make me stateless, if they try and take my British nationality away, I want all of you. I need all of you. I do this. I have a selfish reason. I do this for my children. So I want you to imagine my children are your children. So when you fight exactly the same way for them. So I don't mind staying inside if I know you guys will keep fighting for them outside. Can we do that? So now I get to introduce Nick from Global Justice now. Give him some love!
That's the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you. I'm going to be really, really quick because I'm really just here to say an enormous thank you and solidarity to all of you. And to say, look, the reason, as Max just told us, the reason they are ramming through this draconian legislation is because they know that protest works, that what you all do works. We know that our brothers and sisters in Extinction Rebellion and all of the other climate justice activists are changing the debate, they are changing minds, they are going to change the future. They are heroes, not criminals. We know that all of our brothers and sisters in the anti-racist movement who are toppling the statues of 19th century aristocrats that committed crimes against humanity, they are changing minds. Those statues have no place on our streets anymore. They are changing minds. Solidarity with the constant force, solidarity with all the statues must fall activists. And I'll say something else. Tory governments have been doing this to us for 200 years. When I was a young activist in the middle of the 1990s, they brought a piece of legislation forward called the Criminal Justice Bill. And the Criminal Justice Bill was very similar to this, except they weren't worried about statues then. They were worried about young people having raves in the countryside. They found it very difficult in this legislation to differentiate those raves from their mates who were going to watch the opera at summer festivals. So they came up with this thing about repetitive beats that they wanted to criminalise. It was ludicrous. But they did us a huge favour, because all of these party people, all of these countercultural activists were incredibly talented, and they came into our movement and they created the biggest, most disruptive, most noisy, most creative demonstrations I've ever been on. They brought together the countercultural movement, the party people with the most radical workers, the Liverpool dockers, who were being screwed over at the time, and we marched together. We marched together for years. They sparked a movement that meant that when the bill went through, and by the way, the Labour leadership were no use to us then either. The Shadow Home Secretary was a man called Tony Blair, and he decided to abstain. To abstain on this piece of legislation, but with our friends in Parliament, some of them the same as are out here supporting us today, we effectively made that bill unworkable and ineffective. And not just that, it was the beginning of the end of a nasty, corrupt and shambolic government. It was the Tories' last days. So that's what we've got to replicate today. That's the task in front of us. keep fighting. Promise, don't promise me, promise each other, promise yourselves that when this bill goes through, we will not stop. It will just be the beginning of our fight. And if Preeti Patel thinks we are annoying and noisy today, she ain't seen nothing yet. And we will be here long after Preeti Patel has gone, long after Boris Johnson has gone. We will prevail. Thank you.
We're coming up to the end of our of the demo here. We've got a few more speakers, but we're looking for Hayden. So what we're going to do is I want you all to shout, Hayden! Hayden! Where are you? Where are you? Wave your arm. Wave your arm. Hayden! Hayden! Where are you? Where are you? Are you here? Are you here?
Really no like
Hayden!
He's not here.
So we're gonna find Hayden in a bit because we can't see him here. But I'm gonna bring my brother later on. But I want to invite a sister. Extinction!
Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
Extinction!
Rebellion!
When I check this girl's video, yeah, when I watch her speak, she scares me.
Cassandra!
This person helps me understand why I need to stand in solidarity with XR. They show me sisterhood in so much ways. Can I say your name? Yeah. The one and only Claire Powell from Extinction Rebellion!
Thank you, sister, and all the sisters on the wall. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here, and just wanted to say a few things about if you were being polite, that you might describe as a serious fucking annoyance. These things are legal, but I think they're seriously annoying. Creating the collapse of civilization on purpose. Profiting from creating the conditions for ecological breakdown. Profiting from things that kill children, including fossil fuels. Subsidising those fossil fuels with our tax for over £13 billion a year. Cutting the welfare for the most vulnerable people in society. Telling lies during an election in order to win. Deceiving the public about the breach of guidelines that you fucking wrote. Causing a thing called social murder by being totally shit at running the country. Moving swiftly from a job in tobacco lobbying to dismantling democracy in the British nation. Threatening to criminalise life-saving work. Telling British people they should allow migrants to drown at sea. The list could go on and on. But we know that democracy is messy. That mature democracy allows for people to act as its conscience keepers, as we all are doing today. And we are entitled to disagree as loudly as we like. We know that there is virtue in disobedience. We know our duty. The people inside that building need to realise theirs. They're trying to make it a crime for us to care for each other. They're trying to make it a crime to be an active citizen. I want us to think for a second about how our jury system has a parallel with one of the demands in Extinction Rebellion. That is for citizens' assemblies. The recent acquittals of activists is showing us that the people in power are totally out of touch with our society. Participatory democracy would give citizens access to decision making in society. The times we're moving into, we need a public with agency. We need society to come together, to meet itself, to decide how to find a route through difficult times. And we will continue to demand that people have a say in their future. Now, if you haven't read it yet, please get a copy of Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny. He says in that modern tyranny is terror management. There are many lessons on tyranny for us to learn from the 20th century. He says in it that most of the power in authoritarianism is freely given. Citizens offer themselves without being asked. And a citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. Our institutions will not protect themselves. They will fall one after another unless each one is defended. So the amendments that we hope are being voted down this evening are important, but these bills themselves are still a gross deterioration of our society's common values. And the political conditions in this country are an international humiliation. For so many reasons, we can all see that the social contract has been broken, and our sense of necessity for action relates to the failure of this democratic state. The bills are an obvious attempt to criminalise effective protest, to keep an elite that is corrupt in power. As David Lammy pointed out so eloquently in Parliament last year, successful non-violent protest groups are successful, but they are presenting truths that our government don't want to hear, because they don't have the courage or the wisdom to face up to the real issues of our time, or the real problems that shape our lives. They want to make us too afraid to hold them to account, but we know that we need more democracy, otherwise we will certainly get less. There's a fundamental lack of understanding going on about the human frailty and our miraculous planet Earth, the only known home to complex life in the universe. We can't send everyone to space like William Shatner and Jeff Bezos just so they can realise the utter evil that it is to destroy the miraculous life-nurturing planet that we have with willful fucking intent. This is a matter of criminality. So we will continue to be citizens of conscience. We're compelled to do this work because we all cannot bear to be complicit. As part of a society so immoral, it is set to destroy the next generation and take billions of lives. In its current course, our hearts are asking us, what is the work that we can do that has the best chance of affecting rapid change? To try and prevent an irreversible cascade of impacts which will create a global genocide unparalleled in human history. We know that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. We know that love is not an emotion but a way of living. This work is love in action, so stick together, folks. Please be as strategic as you can. Be as courageous as you can. Be as audacious as you can. Let's commit together to be as seriously fucking annoying as we need to be.
We're just doing a quick costume change. Anya, are you around? Sina, I'm so sorry, I thought we would introduce Anya. Sina, I would like to introduce Sina.
Thank you. Give some love to Sina!
Hello everybody, I'm Sima Saida and I'm from Another Europe is Possible, and we're here to fight for a world without borders! Why am I here talking about borders when we're fighting the policing bill? Because both of these bills are racist, fascist bills that attack racialized people and migrants. The policing bill criminalizes protesters. The borders bill will criminalize refugees and asylum seekers. We all saw the tragic deaths of 27 people in the Channel before Christmas. It was heartbreaking. We saw whole families die in the Channel. These kids could have been my brothers and my sisters. And what this borders bill will do is, if they come here through routes that are irregular, you can get 4 years in prison. If one of these asylum seekers steers a boat, they could get life in prison. These are people who are fleeing war, who are fleeing humanitarian abuses. and they don't deserve to come here and then be put in prison. No one is illegal and all migrants should be welcome. You know what else this bill does? It introduces offshoring camps, British Guantanamo Bays. So asylum seekers who come here can be deported to a random prison in a random place in the world where there's no public scrutiny, where there aren't journalists, and even more human rights abuses can happen. So we need to stop this bill. You know what else this bill does? It introduces Clause 9. Clause 9 will allow the government to take away people's citizenship without telling them and without giving them the right to appeal. And you know who first introduced this power to remove people's citizenship? It was Tony Blair. A Labour government. The Labour Party does not always stand for us. We saw some good Labour MPs, but Keir Starmer has done barely anything. In fact, he's done nothing. He should be here today, but he's not. Why? Because he's a cop. He ran the Crown Prosecution Service. So, the people who are really going to defend these rights are you and I on the streets. It's not famous people, it's individuals. You are the leaders of the movement, every single one of you. And if this bill passes, the policing bill, the borders bill, if they pass, and they tell us we can't protest in Parliament Square, what are we going to do? Protest! We're going to come to Parliament Square and we bloody well will protest. When the government brings out its immigration bans to do immigration raids and to deport people, what are we going to do? We're bloody well going to put our bodies on the line. We're going to stop the government executing its plan, just like those people in Glasgow, in Canmore Street, who came out and put their bodies on the line, because that is what material solidarity is. Because the people have the power. You all have to be brave. Join your local anti-raids organisation. Join your local cop watch. Come to the protests, but every day organise and stand in the streets and stop this government. Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Another Europe is Possible was founded to fight the politics of Brexit, because we knew where it would lead. It would lead to rising racism, to rising xenophobia, to attacks on migrants, to attacks on human rights, to attacks on democracy. And that's where we are today with 4 fascist bills: the policing bill, the borders bill, the judicial review bill, which will allow the government to evade the scrutiny of the courts, and the elections bill, which introduces voter ID. The majority of voters didn't vote for this government, yet they have a huge majority in Parliament putting through their fascist agenda. We do not live in a democracy. Democracy is rigged. Bosses control your lives. They control the amount of hours that you work. They control when you go on holiday. Real democracy is control of the economy. It's control of the means of production. It's socialism. Join your trade unions. Go on strike. Now, I'm going to end my speech with this chant. No borders, no nations, no racist deportations!
No borders, no nations, no racist deportations! No borders, no nations, no racist deportations! No borders, no nations, no racist deportations!
Thank you.
Chantal can get me to do anything, you know. But you know what? This is a real reality. This is a real reality. I know you think orange is the new black, but in my mind, this is one thing I don't want. I don't want to have to go to prison. We don't have to go to prison. We don't have to go to prison because we're fighting for our rights. Nobody should go to prison for doing the right thing. No one should go to prison for fighting for human rights. No one should go to prison for fighting for their children to breathe clean air. No one should go to prison for fighting for a fair wage. No one should go to prison for a drive to survive. No one should go to prison. No one should go to prison. In fact, no one should ever go to prison. We know the system doesn't work. We need to look at a restorative way of working. We need to look at what are the problems that make us get to that point. We need to tackle the problem at the belly of this corruption. In fact, no one should be in prison. In fact, if you're in prison, we see you, we stand, we know reform is about to happen. The revolution is not televised. The revolution is right here. The revolution is making noise. The revolution is here. The revolution is me. The revolution is us. The revolution is left. The revolution looks young. The revolution needs to be seen. This revolution shall be televised. I have to acknowledge this revolution is let's. So when I say let's, you say let's. 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 When I say let's, you say let's. 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 Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Black lives matter. I'll just put this. I'll put Lex on the space without even giving a Karen. Like I know not. You know why? Because the young people need to be heard. And I saw the energy. Thank you so much for helping. So tell them whatever you want to tell them.
This is a mad one. Right. I tried to prepare as much as I could, but like she gave me no notice and dragged me up here. But I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to be in front of everybody and being able to use my voice in a space that they're trying to quiet me down and put me into a box and hide me away. We all have a responsibility to be here, and a lot of you are taking it upon yourself to use that responsibility and use the right that you've been given and the right that you still have today. We'll see how long we have it for, but you have your right to protest and your right to speak out against any unjust laws, disgusting laws that they're trying to put through. And what I wanted to say is we cannot be complicit in whatever BS they're trying to run about with us. We can't stand here and listen to whatever they're trying to tell us, but all of our hearts we know it's true. We know that we need to be using our voice to be standing up for each other. Even if you're not standing up for yourself, you're witnessing problems that other people are facing, and as long as you stand by them and you help them, you support them, you're good. Everyone here has a heart. Everyone here has different kind of hearts. We've had different hearts coming from different backgrounds, from different cultures, different colors, different sexualities, different identities, different ideals. But we're all united. All of our hearts are united in one fight, in one cause. Yay! I said earlier we have a responsibility, and I'm using my responsibility and my right given as a queer, black, MB, gay looking, like everything you could think of. I've been disadvantaged in every way. But I'm still coming up here. I dragged myself from the bottom of this country all the way up here because I convinced myself that I can make as much noise as possible to get it through their minds that this will not happen. People aren't going to let this happen. It hasn't happened before. It will not happen in future. They can try, but it's not going to happen. We'll continue to fight because we all know you cannot change history, and history has proven to us that protesting and fighting is the way that we get our rights. Everyone has earned our rights this way, and we will not lose our rights, and we will not lose our right to protest. Not today, not tomorrow, and not ever. Because whose streets are these?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Whose streets?
Our streets!
Thank you, everyone.
Incredible, welcome everyone. Oh, go on. I always want to grab the mic before we have time to fix it. In terms of uniforms, obviously you've seen me in my police uniform, my old police uniform, and I'm happy to wear this uniform if that's what it takes to preserve our right to protest and to preserve our human rights. And we know where this could end up, and if that means that my kids and grandkids and the generations that come after us can enjoy freedom and actual democracy and aren't surveilled and crushed by the state, then I am happy to wear this uniform, because people who came before me did a lot more. Stonewall, Martin Luther, Malcolm X, the suffragettes, activists who came before us risked a lot more, and I will be damned if we let our rights go away on our watch. It's not happening, not on our watch. I did not expect that when we went into lockdown I'd be fighting for my right not only to exist as a black person, but to use my voice and to stand in public spaces. I did not think that 2 years down the line I'd be standing here fighting every night, every week, just to exist as a working class person. I did not know the state were going to wage a war against working class people, and we have heard how they are attempting to fill prisons with people like us, and they are changing laws to do so because we are not criminals, so they have to criminalise us. So if it does come to this, I don't mind. I feel better wearing this uniform than the one that I used to wear, because the one that I used to wear stands for corruption, it stands for being a tool of the oppressor, and it stands for crushing the working class and marginalised people. So I would much rather wear this uniform. But it's not all doom and gloom. One of the best things that has come out of this pandemic and out of my activism is my activist family, and that is everyone you see standing on this wall behind you. I didn't know anyone on this wall behind you before someone told me that my life didn't matter, and these people behind me reminded me that my life matters, and they have been with me every step of the way. And that is one of the most beautiful things to come out of this activism. We are a family of activists. We support each other and we hold each other up, and that is what we're going to do. No matter what is round that corner, we are going to hold each other up and we are going to support each other. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you, mic check 1 2 1 2. I just needed to give you a little look. Bhavini from Extinction Rebellion, one of the best activists you will ever meet.
Oh my God, I'm so short compared to this.
Yeah. Woo!
Wow. What the fuck? Yeah, I think that might be offensive soon. What else? What words that they will see and hear that will no longer be considered our rights? Because all these bills and all these sections and everything, but let's just break it down. It's our freedom of speech. This is what's at stake. You are going to be gagged and silenced
And if there's nothing more beautiful about the human beings that we are, it's that we like a little bit of chat and a little bit of a dance and a sing, right? It is the individual spirituality of the human species that we get to have all this beautiful energy within us and to express it freely. This is what's at stake. And let it not be a mistake that humanity calls upon you to be fighting for its existence. Because what are we if we do not have a voice? And one of the things that I stand here and I'm bloody fucking honoured. Look at these queens, right? We have queens in every generation, every culture and every age range here. And that is what they cannot cope with. So leave no one behind. Pick up your grandmother and your grandfather. Pick up your nieces and nephews. Pick every person as you walk the streets because they are your family. And we are your family. And I'm not going to keep you long because I need, oh, I've got some sisters behind me. Got all of that beautiful singing. Come on then, let's do it. We are families. We are family. I got everybody to sing. Come on. It doesn't matter. Come on. We are family. I got all my sisters with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Move over X Factor. We've got new contenders coming into town.
Created together. Each and every one of you. So I really want to honour, on the closing of this, a person that is an ancestor of all of us and that paved the way for our liberation, especially us black and brown people. And he is Martin Luther King. On this day was Liberation Day. We will never let that day pass us by because we will fight just as he has done and every ancestor before us. And so, I leave you with this parting quote from him. We want all of our rights. We want them here and we want them now. No final words then I can close on that. Thank you. Extinction! Rebellion! Extinction! Rebellion! Thank you.
As I said, the revolution will not be televised, so please share.
You know what? It's okay to cry, you know. I'm tired of being the strong black woman, man. I'm tired of being the angry black woman. It's okay to not be okay. Cause this shit's not okay, man. Not like seriously, this shit's not okay, man. When Chantal was talking, I know we're being annoying. But the amount of black people we know that get stopped and searched, and they were not even meant to be stopped and searched, and they're not here. No offense to my white brothers and sisters, but this shit is the reality if this bill goes through. But it ain't gonna stop me though. I'm just getting accustomed to this little bit because I'm gonna be able to wear this if that means my children never have to wear it. So I don't mind not being okay right now. But what I'm not okay with is people sitting down and keeping silence about this shit. To all the fuckery media that's not even telling nobody the truth about this, ban you, fuck off, we don't care. Fuck all the drug dealers who live in there. You guys think you can have a party? You know what our fucking party is about? It's the people's party. It is us having our people's assembly. It is us having the right to stand and say enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. And all I need you guys to do now is make some fucking noise. And we've got the drummers, and we've got so many people, but I have to introduce Mark to help me close. Actually, Mark, I said I was gonna do this. I know a song, no. I know a bill that will get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a bill that will get on your nerves, get on your nerves. Louder. I know a bill that will get on your nerves, get on your nerves, get on your nerves. I know a bill that will get on your nerves, get on your nerves.
Before we finish, I just think we just need to show our thanks to people. And what I want you to do is give one clap when I mention who we're going to thank. So you just do, that's all you do. So, we want to thank the wonderful people who provided the sound system and the rinky dink. We want to thank the stewards and the legal observers. We want to thank all the speakers. We want to thank all of you. We want to thank each and every person who has tweeted and put out information and passed the message on. And we want to thank everyone who will be here for the next one. Thank you.
Come, let's go make some noise, get some samba crooning in you. Please don't just leave, go and show them some love. Listen to the samba and follow the sound.
Just gonna pop my earpiece in.
Make some noise and music.
So it was all very loud up the front there. So we've got the watchful eye of just a small group of police here. It was a couple more earlier on. So this is it. Tonight in the House of Lords, directly behind me, is they're voting on the amendments. 17, 18 pages of amendments going through. We heard the speakers talking about like a lot of the amendments, what it's actually going to mean. It's pretty scary. Pretty much what the message of all the speakers is saying is that these laws go through, and we're very quickly slipping into a very undemocratic, into a authoritarian police state. We're losing our rights. We're losing our rights to protest. With the immigration bill coming through, it's things up to 5 to 6 million people in this country can have their citizenships taken away. First time they'll know about it when they actually arrive at a port trying to get back into the UK, and they're denied entry. It also includes people who were actually born here and have a right to have a citizenship in another country. So if one of your parents was Polish or whatever, and you're born here and you got the right to live in Poland, you can have your citizenship taken away even though you don't speak Polish. So it might sound a bit far-fetched, but these are the laws that are coming through. So there's 4 bills. There's a voting bill going through. There's kind of like slipping away our democracy as well. So it happens. Change happens really fast. We saw that in Turkey. The speed that change happened there. As one of the speakers said, it took Putin several years and 4 bills to bring in what's going to happen here in the UK. So we've got now the Labour Lords have to step up and get the vote going through tonight. We're going to hear very, very late into the night and tomorrow what the actual results are. So if they go through, we're going to pretty much lose our right to protest. Things like it's going to be a nuisance. So you can have 2 people protesting outside their local library, and all it takes then is actually it'll be 1 person protesting, banging a drum, and if 2 people complain and say it's causing a nuisance, right, the police then have the power to arrest you, right? So that's how kind of like severe the laws are. This is like really taking away our freedoms. It hasn't been publicised very much. It hasn't been. You don't open up the Daily Mail or the Times. You don't watch the BBC, BBC 4, even LBC have been pretty quiet on this. There's been 1 or 2 reports. Don't know what's going on there. So again, like we've got this wall of silence going on with the media. The media in this country are complicit. A lot of it's down to the fact that they're the ones who are actually trying to force in the bill. Part of it is you're not allowed to protest outside printing press of newspapers. No doubt that's been highly influenced by 4 offshore billionaires who control 70% of the media in this country. Who have got direct access to Downing Street, very influential in politics. Politics and media goes hand in hand. So people are not hearing about this. The first people are going to hear about the police crime sentencing and courts bill is when they go and they've got a problem and they want to do a protest. It could be union workers getting together and they want to protest outside the train station, and police will arrive and say, actually, do you know what, hey what, this is illegal, you're breaking the law, you can get 51 weeks in jail. So there's lots and lots of things to be very, very scared of. The best thing to do is read up about it, talk to people about it, talk to your friends who you normally don't talk about politics, and tell them you realise that your democratic rights that our forefathers fought, and sisters, we won't forget the suffragettes, they had to break laws, they had to go to jail to get the right to vote, and now all that is very, very quickly slipping away. So this one government in a couple of years has managed to overthrow so much great work that this country has been should be very proud of. So be aware, share this, get onto social media, use the hashtags, kill the bill, and do what you can, and we'll not be silenced. So again, thanks everybody for watching. Please share. Sharing is caring, and hope to see everybody on the streets sometime soon. Take care.